Tennessee Titans fans, it is that time of year especially where we are really getting on YouTube and seeing what other people are talking about regarding the Tennessee Titans going into this season coming up this fall. This is a video, and it is linked in the video description below, from Fanatic Field, and it is called "Nobody Expected the Tennessee Titans to Pull This Off in 2025." I don't know what exactly they're referencing. I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm about to find out. Let's watch it together.
Fast the Tennessee Titans went from a playoff powerhouse to a team completely lost in the dark.
Why were there clips of the Colts? We just can't get away from those goofs.
A few years ago, they were stacked, with Derrick Henry bulldozing defenses, A.J. Brown making highlight plays, and Ryan Tannehill managing games well enough to get them all the way to the AFC Championship in 2020.
The fact that he couldn't find anything better to say about Ryan Tannehill right there tells you why the Titans weren't able to get further than they did. Derrick Henry was dominating. A.J. Brown was dominating. Ryan Tannehill was game managing.
They had the coach, the weapons, the momentum. But what nobody saw coming was how quickly it would all fall apart. And the worst part, it didn't happen in one moment. It was slow, painful, and full of decisions that still haunt this franchise. The Titans didn't just lose games, they lost their identity. When they traded A.J. Brown to the Eagles, it wasn't just a player walking out the door. It was their future. The offense fell flat. The line collapsed. Tannehill started breaking down, and the coaching staff couldn't fix it. Todd Downing's play calling made fans furious. Mike Vrabel, once seen as a steady hand, started running out of answers. And instead of rebuilding the right way, they kept trying to patch the leaks with Band-Aids. Malik Willis?
Yeah, I think that, as far as Tannehill goes, I think whether AJ was traded or not, we're getting toward the end of Tannehill just because I think he was getting older. He was dealing with injuries. Tannehill was usually reliable to be healthy, but, starting in that year after AJ was traded, Tannehill started getting hurt more, partially because our offensive line was significantly worse, but also just because he was getting older. He'd been in the league longer. So I think, Tannehill was probably due to struggle some whether AJ was there or not. But yes, without AJ, it was inevitable that he was going to struggle more. And yeah, you can get aggravated at the fact that people talk about the AJ Brown trade so much when they talk about the Titans, but it was so idiotic that you can't not bring it up. It is a key reason why we went from where we were to where we are. And there's no doubt about it. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. And the night it happened, I said, this is the kind of move that haunts you for years to come. Well, it's been 3 years, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty haunted.
Didn't work. The offense became predictable, slow, and broken, and the window slammed shut. But here's where things...
I just want to say the offense was already very predictable. It was just, with Derrick Henry at that time, even if you knew what was coming, what are you going to do? Like, we had a good offensive line and we had Derrick Henry. When you have that, it doesn't really matter if they know what's coming, if they can't stop it. So I think the play calling was already very predictable, but yeah.
Let's get even crazier. The Titans didn't just misfire once, they did it again and again. And that's where Will Levis enters the story. Because if you thought the first collapse was painful, wait until you see what happened next.
You don't even know.
But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Titans and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video.
All right.
Will Levis wasn't supposed to be the answer. He was supposed to be the gamble worth taking.
He's got
a big arm out of Kentucky, hyped as a first-round talent who slid into the second. But the second he stepped onto the field, everything changed. When Ryan Tannehill went down overseas, Malik Willis got the first shot. It was ugly. So ugly that the Titans had no choice but to throw Levis into the fire.
Why can't this person, is this AI talking? Why can't they pronounce any of the names? Will Levis, Malik Willis.
Happened. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. A jaw-dropping debut against the Falcons. Suddenly, fans thought they found their guy. But that flash, it didn't last. The next season, the real Will Levis showed up. Not the gunslinger, not the savior. Just a young quarterback crumbling under pressure. 2,910 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Sounds average, until you look closer. He threw red zone picks. He made brutal decisions with the game on the line. He lost a winnable matchup against the Bears. Caleb Williams had only 95 passing yards that day. Levis still blew it with a pick six. He turned it over in critical moments against the Jets. And then came the final blow. He got benched for Mason Rudolph. That wasn't a warning, that was the funeral. But the collapse didn't stop there. The Titans made it clear. Levis wasn't the guy. Neither was Malik. Neither was Tannehill.
I can't believe you didn't pronounce it Tannehill. Yeah, I mean, so Levis, Levis, whatever you want to call him. He started the season. We had the disasters against the Bears, Jets, Packers. Then he got hurt, missed a few games. And then he came back and he had that stretch of good games where we were like, okay, we're buying in again. And then it was against the Bengals when he officially got benched. That day was the funeral. That game against the Bengals was the funeral. It was like, okay, yeah, he's done.
They didn't just fail to find a franchise quarterback. They burned 3 chances in a row. That's what made the first overall pick in 2025 so much more than just another draft slot. It was their last shot, their reset button. And that's exactly when Cam Ward stepped into the spotlight.
Is it ever really the last shot?
The Tennessee Titans weren't just desperate. They were staring at the edge of a cliff. And with the number 1 overall pick, they didn't take the flashy name or the so-called safe bet. They took a leap of faith. They took Cam Ward. But here's the twist. Ward isn't your typical top pick. No 5-star high school hype. No polished resume from a powerhouse program. He came out of nowhere, built his own spotlight, and forced the NFL to pay attention. From Incarnate Word to Miami, Ward didn't just rise.
I mean, was it the safe pick? Or he said it wasn't the safe pick. I think it was. I mean, there were like 4 teams trying to trade up and get him. By the time the draft got here, it was a given that that's who the Titans were taking. Not the safe pick.
He clawed his way up step by step. What makes Cam Ward different isn't just the arm, though that's real. It's the way he thinks, the way he reads defenses before the ball is snapped. He wasn't gifted a perfect system or elite receivers at every level. He elevated the teams around him. At Miami, he didn't hide behind talent. He carried it. He turned broken plays into highlights. He ran heavy RPO systems, aired it out deep, and made defenders look clueless. He wasn't a stat chaser. He was a difference maker. That's why he became a Heisman finalist, and that's why the Titans took the risk. Because sometimes upside is louder than experience. But this pick isn't just about potential. It's about timing. The Titans didn't bring in Cam Ward to sit. They drafted him to lead. They're not asking for perfection. They're betting on development. And standing next to him now is the man who's supposed to make it all click. Coach Brian Callahan stepping in with his own legacy and vision. But will the system fit? Will Ward be protected? That depends on what they built around him, and that's where things get even more interesting. If the Titans were going all in on Cam Ward, they had no choice but to surround him with the right weapons.
Well, yeah.
And that's exactly what they started doing.
Okay.
They brought in Calvin Ridley, a seasoned route technician who still knows how to stretch a defense.
The people who put this video together know Calvin Ridley was signed last season, right? Last offseason. They did not sign Calvin Ridley this offseason to help Cam Ward. Calvin Ridley was on this team long before Cam Ward was even a thought.
Last season, Ridley put up 1,077 receiving yards despite a rocky start. Proof that he can be a true WR1 when it counts. Add in Tony Pollard, who quietly crossed the 1,000.
Did they know Calvin Ridley's with the Titans now? Because all of the highlights they just showed were of Calvin Ridley with Jacksonville. Do they know he's been with the Titans for a year?
1,000-yard rushing mark, and you've got a backfield that's more dynamic than it looks. But it doesn't stop there. Tyjae Spears gives them another gear, a grinder with quick feet who can also catch passes out of the backfield. Then came the rookie help. With the 103rd pick, Tennessee added Chimere Dyke, a deep ball threat who...
Who? Did this dude Just did this dude just say what I think he said?
With the 103rd pick, Tennessee added Chimere Dyke, a
Oh no. Oh no. Oh heavens.
deep ball threat who racked up 783 yards and 3 touchdowns last season. They doubled down at tight end too. Gunnar Helm, a 6'5", 250-pound red zone mismatch, is now in the mix with Chigo Okonkwo. That gives them real flexibility. 2 tight end sets, motion-heavy packages. RPO looks that fit exactly what Cam Ward ran in college. The goal here isn't to overwhelm defenses with star power, it's to build a scheme that keeps them guessing. The Titans can load up on weapons all day long, but if they don't protect their quarterback, none of it matters. And over the last few seasons, this offensive line has been a disaster. Cam Ward might be mobile, but even the best dual-threat quarterbacks need a stable pocket. And Tennessee knows this. That's why they've started rebuilding the trenches from the ground up. Peter Skoronski, drafted in the first round a year ago, has already become their most reliable lineman. He's not flashy, but he gets the job done consistently.
Good. I think
that's
Skoronski's
exactly
good.
the kind of anchor you want on the inside. They've also added J.C. Latham, a young tackle with raw strength and a serious mean streak. Latham isn't a finished product, but his ceiling is sky high. Kevin Zeitler, a veteran guard, brings leadership and toughness. And then there's Lloyd Cushenberry, who showed promise at center before tearing his Achilles. While injuries raise concerns, his past performance in Denver, just 1 sack allowed over 900 snaps, proves he can hold the line when healthy. This group still has to gel, but the potential is finally there. Tennessee isn't just
You left out the biggest wild card of them all right there in Dan Moore. How do you not mention the $50 million man?
plugging holes anymore. They're trying to build something stable. While all eyes are locked on the offense, the real heartbeat of this Titans team might be its defense. And they're rebuilding it the smart way. One of the biggest shifts this offseason came with the decision to part ways with Harold Landry, who had 9 sacks last year. Some fans were shocked, but this wasn't about stats, it was about direction. Tennessee is leaning into younger, hungrier talent with more upside. That's where the new face of their front 7 comes in. Tavondre Sweat,
There he is.
a massive, space-eating interior lineman built to destroy run
Look
games.
at the big man run.
And right next to him, Jeffrey Simmons, the all-pro wrecking ball who finished with 5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. But it's not just about the names, it's about the layers. They've added rotational pieces like Sebastian Joseph Day and Draymond Jones, guys
Sebastian
who might
was
not
already
light
here.
up the box score but bring discipline and power to every
They did
snap.
not add Sebastian Joseph
Then
Day.
there's
He's already
Arden
been
Key,
there.
who chipped in with 6.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, quietly becoming one of the most disruptive edge threats on the roster. And don't overlook Cody
Whoop-de-doo.
Barton, a versatile veteran with 53 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble last season. He's not a star, but he fills in gaps most players can't. So now it's your turn. Do you think the Titans finally got it right with Cam Ward? Will ownership give Callahan the time he needs to turn this thing around?
That's a big
Or are we
if.
just watching a rerun of the same mistakes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're still with us, hit that like button.
So that's, I mean, the real question at the end, will they give Callahan time? They don't give anybody time. Let's read some of the comments. If Cam hits the ground running, this could be that's Power Hour. This could be a fun team to watch the first time in years. What in the Allen Iverson is this? Skoronski was not drafted last year. Let's see if anybody mentioned Chimere DK's name pronunciation. Yeah, so I mean, whoever made this video missed out on some key elements. Dan Moore, Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley's already been on the team for a year. Chimere DK's name is pronounced Chimere DK. Will Levis, not Levis. Malik Willis, not Malik Willis. But, you know, I think that you do see kind of what people think of the Titans going forward. I mean, you know, it's a real question mark time because it's a younger team than it's been in a long time. I mean, this team is really going to be relying on last year's draft and this year's draft to step up. I mean, you're going to need those year 2 guys. And so they're really just a big unknown, the Titans are, going into this season, because they're so young and there's so many unproven players. You've got a new franchise quarterback. I mean, I get a lot of people are like, man, I don't really know what to think. You know, there, if you liked Cam Ward going in, you're probably excited for the Titans. If you didn't like him, or if you're just a Shador stan, then whatever. But that's kind of where everybody stands with it. We'll keep watching some of these tighten up.